Righty, beautiful humans. Happy Monday. Welcome, Hannah, Alexandra, Renette. So yeah, this week we have the pleasure to be here with Marie and Martin Richtsfeld. And German speakers. We're really excited to explore this whole world of what it means to be in a sacred union today. And so Martin and Marie met when Martin was 22 and Marie was 14, and it was this thing of like love on the first sight. And now, you've been married for 4 years, together for 10. And what we'll explore in today's conversation is really like, how do we turn normal partnerships into what a sacred union can be? And I find it really inspiring to hear how both of you mutually inspire each other and have this global nomadic lifestyle in many ways, working really in the beautiful like spiritual technologies from like Akashic Sound Journeys, Ecstatic dance, and also working on some like interesting areas that bridge kind of like the digital nomadism with the world of the internet. Like Martin, you've created this course on digital freedom, and I think what really intrigues me is as being an Akashic Business Advisor, which is really, really awesome. On the one hand, business kind of like hardcore manifestation, but then also taking the idea from the more kind of celestial realms. Mm-hmm. So, with that, I'd really love to get to this origin story first. So, when you first met, and then like, how did it turn from love in first sight into what you now have as this container in which you create amazing work, like beautifully inspiring other?
Yeah, I guess I'll start this story as always. So first of all, hi to everyone.
Hello, and thank you for having us here.
Super happy.
Yeah.
And it was when I was 22. I was with a friend riding motorbike. Riding motorbike in the Viennese woods. So it's beautiful areas to ride motorbikes. And he was in front, and I was just following him. And at some point, he went into the middle of nowhere. I've never been in that area, and then he turned right into a dead-end street. And I was like, that's interesting. And then we stopped at a house, like at the parking space next to a house. And I had no clue where we were. And then I saw her dad. And I know her dad from work, because we used to work in the same company. And I saw her dad. And then I knew like where we were going to, and just parked my bike, took off my helmet, and then she has to continue the story.
Yes, now it's my turn. For me, I was 14 back then, and we were just having dinner in the garden. It was a beautiful summer evening, and I heard 2 motorbikes, and it's quite rare to have motorbikes in our street, because we have like in our village, we have like 16 inhabitants. It's really small, but it's close to Vienna. So I was really curious, like, who is that? So I went like around the house towards our parking space, and I recognized the boss of my dad. And then there was this other man, like it was Martin, when he took off his helmet, and I looked him into the eyes. It was a lightning stroke hitting me directly into my heart. And I heard this voice like, Marie, that's your husband. And I instantly knew, it was this inner knowing that at some point this guy, this handsome boy will be my husband. And the beautiful thing is that when I felt this, I was standing right next to my tree of life. So my parents, they planted a maple tree when I was born. And I was just standing right next to the tree, and I always felt like this very strong connection to the tree. And like fast forward now, when we got married 4.5 years ago, it was important for us to get married in the garden of my parents, like incorporating this tree, because that's when I felt it the very first time, like these butterflies and inner knowing that that's him. And yeah, then a few years passed by because I was still too young, of course, to be together with him. But I did 2 internships at the company where he was working and where my dad was working. And I don't know, every time I saw him, I was just so nervous. And yeah, I don't know. I have flashbacks to this feeling. But in the end, we came together when I was 20.
Yes.
So I was around 20, and I decided to study abroad for a year. In first, I worked in Texas for a little bit, and then in Canada. I studied in Canada, in Vancouver, and before heading off into the big world, we had a farewell party for me with like the colleagues that were working at the company, and he was also there, and we were talking the whole night, and I think that was when we both really felt there's something super, super, super special. Do you want to continue?
Yeah, I think it's also important, or some might ask if I also felt like the same kind of lightning stroke. But for me, she was like a little girl, and she was only 14 back then, and she always looked pretty. But there's like, for me, there was just, she's the daughter of a colleague at work. So for me, initially, there was not this lightning stroke, but I think someone once said that if a couple is supposed to be together, only one kind of initially needs to know. So if one gets this lightning stroke, then they will eventually find together. And then we started growing together, and so it worked out together, even though only one initially had this lightning stroke. Maybe just an interesting fact. And I would say during these 10 years, what was one of the most important things is that we kind of grew together also in the path that we are going. And to explain it, we basically both went the spiritual path, understanding like that, understanding this oneness with the whole universe, understanding that there is more than we can like feel, sense, taste with our 5 senses, understanding that there is this true self, higher self, however you want to call it, God, source, the universe. And we went together on that path, and we started like one by one exploring together that there is something more. And I think this was one of the pivot points, because I have the feeling if only she would have gone that way, or if only I would have gone that way, there would be like a mismatch in both our frequencies, so we won't be in harmony. And so I think going on this path, whatever the path is, for us, it was like the spiritual path. And there also like 1,000 spiritual paths, obviously. Like I didn't become a monk, so which would also be a spiritual path, obviously. But kind of growing together. And we had our differences and our difficulties at the beginning. And we had our can you say sidetracks or something? Deviations, yeah, maybe that's the right word. Thank you. At the beginning, where we just kind of stepped into onto different paths, but then we kind of aligned and came back together. So it was not like all amazing and perfect and everything from the beginning. It was also like a lot of work. But what was important during that work is that we could always talk with each other and talk from a perspective. We only like a year or 2 ago, we came across authentic relating. And without going too deep into authentic relating, because it's a whole other topic, I think that's basically what we kind of always intuitively did. So one of the main things of authentic relating is that I don't say you are the reason or you make me. So I don't blame anyone with authentic relating. But what I do is I say, okay, I feel this and that. And yeah, or you doing this makes me feel like this. I would put it that way. So I have a feeling towards what you did, but this doesn't mean that you did anything wrong or right or anything. It's just how I feel with what you did. And I think it's very important to get out of this blaming, because then we like one blames the other and the other blames the one. So it's a whole blaming game all the time. But when I feel something and I share my feeling, like the other one can't say that's not right because it's my feeling. So it's so it's a completely different way of conversation. And then the other can say, okay, but I feel like this. So we're just sharing feelings, and we are approaching each other by sharing our feelings, not by blaming someone. And I think that was a big part of how we could grow together and not build up this pile of conditioning and of blaming and maybe even of hate and that we feel in relationships in general are building up.
It's such an important, I guess, topic in general that you're talking about, and I think one of the components of that authentic relating is receiving the other with empathy, right? And I mean, the brief of what I know of you as a couple, I can see that there is always that empathic response that you both maintain. So I guess what I'm very curious about is also what you were talking about before, is that alignment that you both had right early on, where I work with a lot of couples where one is more, into, let's say, for instance, that spiritual space, and the other one is, let's call it, lagging behind. What skills do you use to help your clients sort of realign themselves to that point?
Let me quickly think back. So when we came together, when I was 20 and you were 28, we both were already spiritually open and very interested in the world beyond. And even though we were not that deep into it, was more like a natural feeling and less like knowledge-based, or I have read so many books, more like experience-based. So I always knew that I can talk to Martin about my experiences because he will receive me without judgment. And I felt always very safe. So I could go to him and tell him, I had like, especially in my teenage ages, or when I was still smaller, I felt a lot of, like, for example, I felt like someone was touching me, like a spirit or whatever you want to call it, or I suddenly saw something or heard something, what I couldn't explain with my 5 senses. And I knew that I can tell him because he has maybe similar experiences, and we can just explore it more in depth, what this is about. So this mutual understanding and this ability to hold space for each other without judgment, I think, is a beautiful skill to have. Yeah. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, obviously we also read books. I wanna take one book which is very important to me, and it's the 4 Agreements. And one of these 4 agreements is don't take it personally, or don't take anything personally. And I think this was because, like, what happens is that very often our emotions, which are good, I love emotions, but in emotions we say things that we don't mean that way.
When we're triggered.
Yeah, when we are triggered, when we are angry, when we are hurt, when we are happy, we say things that we don't, like, from our deepest core, from our deepest higher self. I don't know if that sounds funny. From our deepest higher self, it doesn't feel like connected, but our hormones, our emotions bring that up. And when we understand that someone is maybe in an emotional state, then we don't take it personal. because like next day or whenever he or she might say something different, or say, it wasn't too nice, it was just coming out because it was emotional. And but if you say, but you said it this time, and you said this and you said that, when you always hang in the past about what someone said because you took it personally, it's like you build again up this pile or this wall between each other.
But I need to add that in our 10 years, we haven't fighted. So we like fought, yeah, probably that's the right way to say it. We haven't fought. In general, we are not people that like need this kind of, like because we are both quite like we love harmony and balance. And whenever there is something that comes up, we talk about it. And even if it's uncomfortable, I trust Martin so much that I just know I can tell him anything.
And she's very sensitive to loudness. So if I go from whatever, let's say what I'm talking now is 70 decibel, and if I go to 71, she's already, why are you screaming at me? So, yeah, and we also I haven't done that in a long time now, but we had a little trigger bomb for if like the tension is very strong and she's like angry as what's going on, then I just look at her and I make like a chicken. And this kind of, she did what you did now. She just started laughing. So, and it kind of immediately took out the whole tension of the situation, and we could start talking. But I know that most women wouldn't receive that well.
Well, but hold on a second, Martin. I think you've created a safe space for your partner. I think that's the thing in terms of you being able to put something out like that, and it's received so well. So I think that kind of leads maybe into the next question of you as a couple. How have you both cultivated that safety for one another, that you can really be that authentic self?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I think what's most important for us, like we see three entities in this relationship that we have here. We see one entity, which is her, another entity, which is me, and then there's the third entity, which is the relationship. And because that's like when you're with someone else, it's always like this, well, you behave different with someone else. No, you don't behave different. It's just a relationship that's different with someone else. And then other parts of you are coming out, but it's still you. But it seems as if it's someone or something else. So to cultivate that, I think we always we don't blame anyone for anything. We just, we have this thing together, which is the relationship. And that's what we're working on. That's what we have together. And we try to support each other, whatever she's doing. So like her Akashic business, her whatever else she wants to do, her painting, her art, my music, we just support each other, and we keep also admiring each other. And we keep... like, for example, when one cooks, we always say, thank you for cooking. And then the other one washes the dishes. So it's like this mutual, completely natural giving and taking, which creates this safe space from both sides all the time, I have the feeling. And of course, the opportunity to talk, to have like the best friend, the spouse, the lover, I wanna find a good word for like also the sexual lover or the lovemaking lover, like really that sexual part, because at the end lovemaking is a lot about safety, and lovemaking only really truly deeply works when there is this safety. And I think that's also a big part. We over the years could create this container during lovemaking to kind of go into this complete release mode.
I like that.
during lovemaking. And with that, we can also kind of take that back into the relationship as a safe container, as a safe space.
I think I would like to add something here before we maybe go more into sacred union. We feel that there are 3 stages in a relationship, and I will just quickly share these stages. So the first stage is when you are basically on your own healing journey. You are getting your own shit together in a way. Then the second stage is when you're already, when you experience the self-love, you are a sovereign human being and you're not dependent on anybody else, but just you can really rely on yourself. And then the third stage is having basically 2 sovereign human beings that come together and meet in sacred union. So that means in this sacred union, both have worked on their inner masculine and inner feminine and feel this divine harmony inside of them. And then they can meet as, I feel they can meet as God or goddess. And especially, I mean, the sacred union is more like a state of consciousness. I feel it's not like a definition of a relationship, or we have a sacred union, like the whole through, but it's more like, no, sometimes maybe we tap back into stage 1 where we tap into healing ourselves and healing, I don't know, childhood traumas, and then we go into stage 2, and hopefully also sometimes we are in stage 3 when we are very, very connected, and feeling this connection between each other is often also shown by telepathy. And saying that, I mean, when you're so connected with to your partner, you don't need words anymore to communicate. And when we have this quite on a regular basis, which is so beautiful, one thinks something and the other does it or responds without actually talking about it, and then it just creates a huge smile on our face.
That's beautiful.
So yeah,
it's really amazing, Marie, like having these like 3 different stages. It resonates a lot for me, actually, going through these and then experiencing them sort of like simultaneously, where it's not like, yes, the first 2 years is stage 1, then you have stage 2 for the next 3 years, and then afterwards it's divine union. But it's almost, I mean, I see this with inner child work as well. It's like, yes, sometimes I'm like fully in my adult state. Sometimes I like fully sort of like 2-year-old, like wounded child wanting to throw a tantrum and being like really pissed off that I didn't get what I wanted. And it's sort of, I feel kind of having the awareness, and also I feel the compassion for one another. That like, yeah, okay, we're potentially misaligned. One wants to be in stage 3 and the other one needs to be in stage 1. And how do you, and that's maybe a question as well, like when like the 2 of you feel you have kind of like different needs, or there's something different that wants to be expressed for you, Marie, and then for you, Martin, like how do you kind of find the connectivity in that, or do you just give each other space and trust that it arises naturally?
Yeah, we in those cases we feel it's very important to give each other space. And like sometimes Martin has those crazy days where he's like sick of the world, or what, I don't know, like he's just sad because of craziness out there. And often it's a reflection of probably also how you're feeling inside. But then I just give him the space that he needs. Like either I go out and meet with friends and he has the house for himself, or the other way. And I tell him, go out to the beach, go out in nature and come back whenever it's right for you. So I'm not like telling him, oh, you need to come back like in 1 hour or so. And so I'm like not trying to control him, but give him this feeling of trust that I'm there for you if you want to talk. I'm there for you to hold you, if I'm there for you to listen. But I feel if you need to just go outside and be on your own, that's totally fine. And also we lived in Ecuador for 6 months, like before we came to Mexico a few months ago. And we heard of a shamanic retreat that was like for 16 days of an intense retreat in the jungle. And I heard it and I was like, baby, that's for you. You need to do it. That's exactly what you need to like get offline and just be with yourself. And he luckily also felt it. I mean, otherwise he wouldn't have done it. Yeah. But I feel like being so sensitive and empathetic towards the other, what the other needs, and also like emphasizing it, I feel like that would probably really be good for you. Do you feel the same? And then he or she can decide, of course, for himself. So yeah, giving the other space. What do you feel?
And yeah, maybe it's a little like I give again a little more perspective into what we're doing and then bring it back to that question. So everything we do revolves around one belief or one feeling that we have. And we believe that humanity as a whole has only one single problem. And once we solve each and every one for themselves, this one single problem, everything will we don't need to care about anything else, because everything else will, I don't want to say fall, I will say rise into place. And this one single problem that we believe exists is that most of humanity, most of us, have lost the connection to their true self, to their higher self. So we are completely disconnected all the time. We think like cutting down trees doesn't affect anyone, but yeah, we can sell it or anything. Or harming someone else, or fighting against someone else, or being angry at someone else is like, it always kind of comes back. There is no separation. But we have this separation from ourselves, from our feelings. And we don't even have this connection to our source. So everything we do is bringing people, like, no matter if it's the Akashic Records, if it's our sound healing, our ecstatic dance, it always revolves around this concept of taking the ego aside and just connecting to who we truly are, who we really are, and living with it. And if you cry, then cry. And if you are angry, then be angry. And if you're happy, then be happy. Because we always get told, and I'm not a parent yet, so I can, as a kid, if a kid screams, let it scream, and encourage it to scream, get it out, whatever's on your heart, get it out. And but we always, like from the beginning, told, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that, that's not etiquette, that's not nice, that's not blah blah blah. So we're getting like pulled down from the very beginning. And I think it's very important to kind of live back to our true self, to who we really are. And with that, it's like a completely different approach of how you can live together, how you can approach anything together, because you're doing it from a standpoint of wholeness and not a standpoint of lack. And giving each other the space to do whatever is needed on the journey. And I have my moments where I give a shit on anything, like literally. Then I need my time. And I think it's important to get, we are used to, and we are being trained to, and there's also this saying, which I guess is very much true. When you tell a lie 10 times, it either becomes truth or politics. I think in the meantime, it's like both. So we are being fed, like we're always kind of dependent on someone else. But what if we are in a bad state? We're just sitting down and we are whatever emotion, if it's anger, if it's grief, if it's sadness, we sit and we feel it, we go into it. So we're not going to someone else, and searching for help somewhere else, but first we go inwards. And we ask ourselves, we ask our higher self, so what is going on now? Why? And so on. So it's like really this connection inwards. The deeper the connection inwards goes, I have the feeling, the more the connection outwards can also go, because it's like as above, so below, and as below, so above. So yeah.
Martin, I have a question about your last
answer.
your last name and how that's attached to your life philosophy that you both have I guess co-created. I wonder if you could give a bit of a insight into that.
Yeah, I'll quickly start. So my last name is Richtsfeld, which is German, and
Austrian.
It's Austrian. Yeah, the language is German, but I'm from Austria. It's Austrian. I keep, like, all around the world, people keep asking us, like, so what language do you speak in Austria? We speak German. So it's like, why do you speak German in Austria? Anyway, so Richtsfeld is our last name, and it actually means to prepare the field. And my father is from the countryside. They were farmers since generations. So it's obviously like preparing the farm field. But at some point I was like, hey, wait. It's I mean, the Akashic field, the morphogenetic field, whichever field you want to talk about, that's bringing together, connecting the whole universe. We see actually our work as like preparing the fields just by walking the path, and we always said, like, we don't want to, what we want to inspire people to is to walk their own path. We don't want to inspire anyone to be like us. We want to inspire people to go their path, whatever it is. And a sacred union won't inspire a monk, but if the monk goes his path, it's perfectly fine, and we've done our job. And yeah, so preparing the field to be ourselves, to live up to our full potential, to live up to our highest potential. I think that's definitely a big contribution to preparing this interconnected field of the universe, of Earth, between humanity. Want to add something?
Yeah, and that's why I love to work with the Akashic field, with the Akashic Records, because it's like it's this blueprint of the whole universe, and we all can tune into these frequencies. And to me, I just realized how life changing it was when I realized I can actually tap into this field where everything is emerging from, and use it for myself and or for my clients, for our participants in our sessions, to help them see the bigger picture and how, like, cause and effect is related, and seeing their life from a different perspective that is outside of, like, of the subjective view, and being in pain and not knowing why something is happening, but seeing life, like, from a soul level perspective, and therefore, yeah, being able to understand yourself on a very compassionate level. So to me, the Akashic Records is an essential modality in the work that we are doing. Yeah.
I have an interesting question, which actually I feel also leads into the sacred union and children, or potentially, like, bringing souls into the world. So me has asked this question. So if two people have a connection spiritually but have conflicting views on having children, how would you go about it? Both have never found this kind of connection before. Is it meant to be, I would say, like, a sign to note? Any advice?
What do you, can you explain a little bit more in detail what you mean by different perspectives on children?
Okay, we can wait, and if me wants to add a few comments to this question, we can pick this up.
Please,
but maybe
please.
in the meantime, we can unpack a little bit more when we talk about, like, a sacred union and being that container where really, like, two sovereign beings come together. What's really your perspective? Like, what's the purpose or the point of having that sacred union? Like, what's the sort of like output of work that it basically creates in the world?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
I
Go ahead.
start. So for me, I feel when you are able to tap into the state of sacred union and you are in this feeling of I'm a whole human being and he's a whole human being, we create basically like this field or this tempo also for another soul to come in at some point. So we are not acting out of just hormones. And with hormones, I mean, like, mostly when we're in love, we are in love because hormones are telling us to be in love, and life wants to procreate. So we want to make love and we want to make babies, but that's like the agenda of life. But if we go towards the agenda of love, and love is like beyond the hormones, so beyond, I heard that in the first 2 years of a relationship, it's mostly based on hormones. So you're fully in love and you don't really see what is happening outside of that. And then after these 2 years, it's really a decision, like, do we want to really make this a beautiful relationship that has potential for sacred union states? And are we both willing to invest some work in this love? And also, of course, we always start with loving ourselves. So that's like anchor point number one. So we are able to receive love and to love somebody else. And then when we have this possibility of sacred union, I feel like that's the most magical moment or foundation for another soul to incarnate on this earth, and for a soul that probably has quite a profound task to do here on earth, because it's a conscious decision, it's a conscious conception of, okay, we feel that there's there's a soul that wants to come to earth, and we are preparing our bodies, we are preparing our minds, and like we are doing our own inner work. So this soul has the opportunity to have like a good start into life and doesn't need to start working from the very beginning on like all the patterns and beliefs and ancestral lineage stuff. But it's already at the stage where he or she, like this new soul, can really tap into the full potential. And I feel like that's the opportunity for a new earth that is emerging, where people are waking up. And that's so beautiful to see that more and more couples are really it's a conscious decision to receive a child. That's what I wanted to say. What do you want to add?
Yeah, a few things. When it a feeling that I have when it comes, like this sacred union, when it comes to lovemaking, is like the one thing before what we also worked on a lot is the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. And we both, no matter which gender we have, we always have like the masculine and the feminine within us. And I recently read a book which I can highly recommend. It's called King, Warrior, Magician, and Lover. So it gives these archetypes, and there are the child archetypes and the grown-up archetypes. And there's also always the shadow side. So the king, for example, has as a shadow side the tyrant and the weakling. And it's like a pyramid. So on the bottom, you have the bipolar shadow, which is the tyrant and the weakling. On top, you have the king. And somewhere in this pyramid, we all are. And we might go to this, as Tobias explained before. We also need to go back to this child states. And the child of the king is the divine child. And it can be like, it can also be a tyrant. No, but I want this now. And once he has it, and like, no, but I didn't want it that way. So like this craziness. So working on understanding ourselves, understanding the different archetypes, whichever resonate. This is just one example, these 4 archetypes, whichever resonate with you, and embodying who you are, embodying your purpose, embodying your higher self, the vessel you are for your higher self. And with that, then going into, so having this as a container for yourself, and then connecting with, in my case as a man, with a woman, and the woman is the one that kind of opens up for the man, and feeling, experiencing this openness that's here. It's like anything's possible, because like the woman allows you so deep into her core, that it's just, it's not really a describable feeling. It's just this oneness or bliss state or ecstasy or whatever the name is for it. And if you can make that together, and like it's really the feeling of 1 + 1 is much more than 2. And so that's the feeling that comes out at the end. And we don't have, or I personally don't have like a step-by-step guide how to get there. But being authentic, I think, is super, super important. Coming from the heart, being like connected to the heart. And yeah, these are just a few steps, a few like bullet points of what I feel is important to grow into that sacred union.
I think
it's really interesting. I just wanted to come back to something from earlier, where when you first saw Martin, he said like there was this like lightning bolt, and Martin was like, I didn't feel like really anything. And then you kind of bringing it back to this, like, does the woman always choose? And ultimately, like, Marie's commitment to this relationship is actually like why you two are kind of like on the journey that you're on right now.
I feel like in the end, probably it comes down to, yes, the woman always chooses, because she's the representation for the cosmic mother, the cosmic womb, whatever you want to call that. So if she decides something, it influences the whole dynamic in the relationship. And if she says no, then probably there's nothing much that the man can do.
And we also have to keep in mind, no matter how patriarchal our whole system is at the moment, anyone who is like playing their childish games now, they all come from their mother's womb. So it's like, without woman,
nothing.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And I feel like that's why it's so important for women to come back to the realization that the divine feminine is a superpower that we all have, and that we forgot because of the patriarchal society, where just the masculine is so dominant and so suppressive. But imagine if all the women suddenly realize that, and they wake up to that, and they tap into this creative power that we all have, I feel like the world would look completely different. And that's also one of the reasons why recently, like the last months, we have been intensely working on an online course about natural contraception, which also, if you can naturally contracept, if you can say like that, of course you can also conceive in a natural way. And I feel it's so important for especially women to get off hormones like the pill or any kind of contraceptive method that is intrusive to the body, because that takes us off our authentic self. And I know this feeling from myself of taking the pill. I always felt like I'm not in my body, I'm not myself. I felt numb in a way. And I feel it's so important for women to really feel their bodies, and so they are able to connect to the womb, to the heart, and then also, of course, to the partners. So we can, in the end, create more peace on earth. Because if all the women are not connected to themselves, and the men also not, then it's just chaos. So it comes down to getting off those subscriptions, like the hormone subscriptions, and really getting into the cycle, and measuring like the temperature. And then another symptom, like what we talk about in this course, it's based on the symptothermal method. So you always take 2 body symptoms into account to cross-reference where you are at in your cycle, to really be you can't be 100% sure, but it's like a backup. And the first is you always take your temperature, and then you cross-check it either with your cervix or your cervical mucus. And through these 2 symptoms, you can be pretty sure if you are fertile or infertile.
It's working for us since 9 years, so
yeah,
just out of our experience.
That's amazing. I mean, I guess the question I have in relation to that is what is your role, Martin, in that? Because I track my partner's cycle. I just think that I take that upon myself to just be, I think, just that step further informed in terms of what's going on for her. And how I can sort of step towards when things are very difficult in her body. So it's like, I'd like to know about your role in stepping into that space with Marie.
We encourage, and we basically also highlight this throughout the whole course. We encourage when you are in a relationship, when you're a couple and you're watching this course, when you want to go into natural contraception, to make it a common effort. So both know where you are in the cycle, what are the symptoms, and it's to understand the partner better, to understand the whole cycle of the partner better. And what Maria also explained before, I mean, when we're taking, for example, the pill, our body always thinks that we are pregnant. So we behave different, we are different, because our body thinks that it is in a different state that it actually is. So we are never our true self, because like the body is giving us wrong signals of who we are. So for some, weight gaining is a problem. For some, the mojo is down, because hey, I'm pregnant, I don't need to become pregnant again. So why should I go into lovemaking? And all of these things, that's why we think it's so important to go with nature, to go the natural way. We have as humanity taken us so much out of nature and separated us so much from nature that we completely lost the connection that we are actually part of nature, and it's a mutual connection with nature that is there. And I think we either realize it sooner, or we anyway get the big hammer later that brings us back to nature in whatever way.
So I want to pick up on that question that me had asked, since we're continuing to be here on the child front.
Yes.
So Martin, a little bit more context. She's saying that basically her partner had children before. He's 11 years older, and so he's been through the child making thing twice, and it doesn't seem to be keen to do it again. But she's desiring it.
Okay. Thank you for more information here. I think we have a similar story to tell, because for me, since I was a child, I always kind of kept hearing this sentence of I don't want to put children into this world. And I had no clue, because I was 8 years old, and I mean, an 8-year-old, where's it coming from? I don't know. And I think over the last month and years, I started realizing what it actually means. And it means that this world is changing now, and it's one of our purposes, one of our tasks, to create this new earth where everyone is valued, no matter male, female, all of the downsides, I would say, or the learnings. Let's call it learnings. All the learnings we have from the current system, we can create into a more holistic, more integrating, more inclusive, new earth, based on nature, based on what nature is doing. Because like when we look at what we're doing, we're always working against nature, I have the feeling. But when we work with nature, everything would flow a lot more. So the more and more I dive into this new earth, into this like new world, however you wanna call it, I have the feeling the more and more this soul it's kind of, this soul was always here, and it was like, get me a nice world and then I'll come. Or at least start working on it and then I'll come. And that's the feeling I have. So it was kind of and she always wanted to have kids. So she was like from the beginning, but she gave me the space to explore it for myself. And there was like no pressure or no, I have to do it now, I have to do it this or that. So it was like a progression for both of us, and for me to getting more comfortable with the idea of putting a soul in. As I shared before, I think it's a huge responsibility. We all have to be aware of putting another body, another vessel for a soul onto this earth. And I want to have my shit more or less done as much as possible. It will never be 100%, of course, but I want to have like worked on myself. So I call our generation the cord cutters. So there has been a lot happening. Like we had world wars. We had like after the World War, we just recently heard that a lot of abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and so on happened up until now, and I think we can, and even like within families, we heard about like in history, there's so much abuse on different levels, spiritual abuse, mental abuse has been happening, that keeps like epigenetics and so on. It's passed on, and we have the feeling that our generation is like, no, we cut that cord now, so we can bring, like, you call them the star child, so however you want to call these new indigo childs and so on. So they have this free space without all this conditioning and all these things that like system expects. Because at the end, like, who are we? We are the expectations of our environment, but I don't want to be the expectations of our environment. I want to be me. But we're always kind of conforming to our environment. So creating a space, creating an earth where everyone that comes can be their own true self right from the beginning. I think that's a space where I feel comfortable bringing a child in. And that's a completely different approach, in my opinion, than, okay, we are married now for 4 years, so it's time to make a baby. Let's make one. So it's a completely, for us, like everything we share here is just our experience and our where we are at the moment, and it might change because we are also like evolving, of course. But so time, trust. I think these are the main points that you had in me to and like this completely new approach. It's like, oh, it's not another round of baby making. No, it's like it's creating something that hasn't been there before. Because there's a reason why it's called an individual, because it's individual. It's like there is none of a kind. One of a kind of this that we are creating here, that we're nurturing here, that we are allowing it to blossom here. So that's kind of the feeling I would wish for the new kids to have.
And I've been in touch with the soul that wants to incarnate with us as parents for quite a while. I would say like 5 or 6 years. So I've been patiently waiting for such a long time. But I, as Martin said, like of course we talk about it a lot, and then I understand his perspective and he understands my perspective. But I give him, I would say we give each other space. I'm not forcing him that we need to become parents now. And I was also like, okay, if if it's not meant for us, then it's maybe not meant for us. Then even though I feel this soul, maybe it's just my spirit guide, but also not putting pressure on that. But I have to say, it's a beautiful feeling to feel this soul on such a beautiful level and receiving guidance from the soul and just being so connected to the soul already, where I'm very much looking forward to the date where I can also meet like this soul in person.
And I think it's to add one more thing here. I think the natural way or most women naturally, like, because they have the womb, it's like from nature they're the ones who create the life. I think they have the longing for that because of evolution to continue. But I think we are at a point in evolution now where consciously raising vibration, raising consciousness, bringing conscious new souls into this earth, I think eventually there will be a lot less women bringing kids in, because they might see their purpose in supporting a whole community. So their kids are the whole community. So it's not this, it's like really tuning into your womb and tuning into your higher self. Like, what is it saying? Is it like this hormonal feeling, or is it really the purpose that I feel to bring in a new soul? And when it is like, what would I give? Would I when the kid is 6 months old, would I put it into a kindergarten because I want to go to work? And is this the proper motivation to do it? These are just questions we ask ourselves. And for ourselves, it's clear, like, we want to support the kid within a community and see it grow up and completely outside of the system, like no school, no nothing. We don't feel like that school is aligned with our values, and so on. So it's a lot of thought that goes into that, and a lot of responsibility.
I think you both are just pointing out so many incredible questions that, I mean, I'm sure I can speak for Toby on this. I would love to have you back here again, because I think we're just scratching the surface in terms of the wealth of information that you both have, and sort of helping people change that mindset. I mean, we haven't even tapped into the incredible representation that you are, Martin, for men stepping into this space, because I think a lot of men are quite detached from the conceiving space with their partner. It is, like you were saying, very much a woman's thing to do, whereas you both coming together as these two conscious beings, it makes a lot more sense stepping into that space.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm just wondering, just in terms of coming to a close, if there's anything that you'd like to share with us as just sort of closing thoughts.
Anything you want to start with?
Oh, there was so much.
Yeah, it's so. Thank you for. I mean, we are totally up and open for coming back again on, and I think it's one important sentence that this book, The King, Warrior, and so on, says, and that really resonated with me. It says, like, we don't need, like, the men don't need to become more feminine, but men need to embody a healthy masculine. Because we have, like, so much unhealthy masculine and so many games, and I want to be the best one, and I want to be the best one. So there's so much fighting happening, because the man doesn't have, like, the healthy masculine embodied, and with all the hormones and that stuff, I think it's also super hard for women to get embodied. And then we abuse each other all the time. It's like, So really, I think what we can do here, especially in these times that was like where the outside world seems so crazy, is, and I'm saying this to myself as well, every time I'm saying it, is like working on what's going on here. And for women, maybe working on what's going on down in the womb, and like really going into that space of call it meditation, call it listening to your. Someone once said, like, what's the difference between praying and meditation? And praying is talking to the universe, and meditation is listening to the universe. So I really like that. So really tuning in with what's me without all the conditioning. Who am I without all the conditioning? I think that's like, if I can encourage people to connect back, like that's the yeah. If you remember one thing, learn to connect back to yourself.
That's beautiful.
And for me, I would like to give a tip of a book that I recently read that was really beautifully influencing or changing my worldview. It's called The Manuscript of Mary Magdalene from Tom Kenyon. And it's such a powerful book where Mary Magdalene is sharing her practices of basically her sexual practices. And it's not just about her as a woman, but also about the man. And so there are beautiful exercises in it for a couple in a sacred union to practice, so they can strive towards this feeling of oneness when you connect in lovemaking. And yeah, I can just really recommend this book. It's so mind-opening and so nourishing. I felt so connected to my womb, and therefore so connected to Martin.
And
he also read it.
I also read it.
Yeah.
And it's important, maybe if some listeners don't know, it's like this whole story about Mary Magdalene being like the prostitute. It's just a made-up story by the church, because I guess they understood how much power. I mean, women create, when they step into their power, they create life. They create, like, they are the only reason why we are here. Because they create life. So it's the highest power you can ever have, I guess, creating life, because otherwise none of this would be here. And I guess the church understood that and saw that Mary Magdalene has that power. So it's like, no, we don't want to give it to her. Let's make it a prostitute, and no one will watch her, will look at her. But it's different. She had that absolute unifying sacred union with Jesus, and the resurrection of Jesus and everything, whatever the story, like the true story is. But this connectedness she was a big part of that, with her energy, with her work, with her connectedness, with her opening. And that's also what the book shares, and what we feel like can be the closest to what really can happen or happened back then.
Wow. Martin, Marie, thank you so much for being here. Thanks everyone for joining in.
So much.
If any feel to continue conversation, join the community in the button underneath the video, and yeah, we'll arrange some time to have you back.
Please.
Thank you.
Very inspiring to see the love flowing between the two of you.
Thank you, Tobias, and thank you, Massimo, so much for having
us.
Lots of love.
Muchas gracias.
Por nada.
Hasta luego.
De nada.
Adiós. See
Adiós.
you next week. Bye.